What's good, planty peeps? My name is Lily and welcome to Peace Lily Plants. So my heart is singing today. You can't hear it, and probably good things to be off key, I bet. But my heart is singing its quiet little song because I know that a few people that I know in real life who aren't really into plants, don't know almost anything about plants, are watching some of my videos to be supportive, to learn more about them. And so I thought to myself, I need to quit making content that is like exclusively geared towards super steeped planty people like myself. I should start to incorporate some things that are a little more beginner friendly. Just have a nice little variety, you know. Today I want to go over what are the 4 plants that I feel are the best beginner-friendly plants for anyone and everyone. Now, I'm sure the list I'm going to present, the 4 that I'm going to give you, would be a little bit different according to other planting people. So please let me know in the comments, if you were making this list, what would be the 4 that you would put on it? I'm wearing eyeliner today for the first time in like 10 years. What do you guys think? And also, with these glasses, I'm like, contacts? What are contacts? But anyway, we're gonna dive right into it here. And before we do, please go ahead and like this video. I know you haven't watched it, but you're probably gonna like it, and subscribe to my channel. So, number 1, wow, I don't know what that was. Number 1 plant on the list is Pothos. So I thought of an interesting little analogy here. Think of desserts, and desserts is like plants. And then within desserts, you have different kinds, like cake, pie, cookies, brownies, cobbler, etc. And within plants, you have plant genuses like Philodendron, Epipremnum, Syndapsis, Peperomia, Alocasia, etc., etc. And then within the specific dessert categories, like cake, you have so many different kinds. Chocolate cake, pineapple cake, strawberry cake, pound cake. You know, pies, what are some kinds of pies? Key lime pie, turtle pie, apple pie. My brain was drawing a blank there. And within those categories, the genuses of plants, you have different species. So Philodendron, you have Philodendron heteroraceum, Philodendron birkin, Philodendron Prince Orange, Philodendron micans, so many different kinds of philodendron. Back to Pothos, plants from different genuses can be referred to Pothos. Can be referred to as Pothos, because Pothos is just like a broad category, a general term. My first category is Pothos, but technically that involves 2 different genuses that I'm going to touch on. The first genus that it involves is Epipremnum. So if you didn't already know, most of the normal things you think of when you think of Pothos, like a jade pothos or a neon pothos or a marble queen pothos, they're all technically part of the Epipremnum family. And I recommend Epipremnums to anyone and everyone for several reasons. Number 1, they're very hardy. If you kind of tend to overwater or kind of tend to underwater, they'll probably be fine either way. Number 2, they're pretty tolerant of any kind of light. The more light you give it, the more it's gonna thrive, but even if you stick an Epipremnum in low light, it'll probably be fine. And they grow fast, so considering that they're easy and they're fast growing, they're extremely rewarding and great for beginners, but really great for everyone, because I love Epipremnum too. Let me show you just a few examples. This first little booger that I accidentally dropped and made a huge mess that me and my mom cleaned up this morning. Well, really it was me calling her saying, Mom, will you help me clean this up? So it was really her who cleaned it up. Shout out to you, Mom. This is an Epipremnum pinnatum Cebu blue. And the general growth pattern of Epipremnum is that they have these vines that can either be trailing out of the pot, or if you want to, like I did with the Epipremnum aureum neon that's right here in this white pot, you can also put it up something if that's what you prefer. But whether you leave it hanging down or have it trailing up, the leaves are going to be pretty big, so that's kind of nice. There are some plants that if you don't put them on a pole, the leaves are going to be smaller. But I appreciate that that's not the case with Epipremnum. So here's an Epipremnum pinnatum Cebu blue. There's the neon, and let me grab the Marble Queen to show you. Absolutely gorgeous variegation on this one, which is Marble Queen Pothos, scientific name Epipremnum aureum Marble Queen. And the other great thing about these, aside from them being pretty tolerant of however much light you give them, pretty tolerant of how much water you give them, on top of those things, they're really cheap. They're really easy to find. They're probably the most common kind of plant out there, period. So, you know, being able to have a beautiful, easy, rewarding plant that is also really cheap and easy to find, it's like the best of every world. But what I've showed you so far are part of the Epipremnum genus. Remember, genuses, it's like dessert types, cake, pie, etc. So let me show you a different kind of dessert. If this is a type of cake, let me show you a type of pie that is also called pothos. So what I am breaking over here right now is a Syndapsis pictus argyrius. Syndapsis is a different genus from Epipremnum, and most Syndapsis have silver in them. So you can kind of remember that because of the alliteration. Syndapsis, silver, Syndapsis, silver, silver, Syndapsis. You can kind of see why this might also be called pothos. I'm putting together, as I'm filming this right now, that people call things that have that general trailing kind of growth pattern pothos, and this has that same growth pattern of, like, you could train it up or you could just let it hang down. Either way, I love this plant. It's pretty easy, not quite as easy as Epipremnum. They do kind of need more light. Like, if you put them in low light, they're probably going to be giving you these vines that don't have leaves on them, and they need a little bit more water. But I do appreciate about Syndapsis that the leaves on Syndapsis will start to curl when they need water, which is really helpful, you know, when a plant communicates with you and tells you what it wants. Don't you wish people could do that too? So, silver satin pothos or the other kinds of pothos I showed you, really easy, really cheap, easy to find, and great for beginners. The next type of plant, the number 2 plant that I would recommend for any and every beginner, is Philodendron, another genus name, just like Epipremnum and Syndapsis. And Philodendron is my personal favorite genus. It is the favorite genus of a lot of people. It's a pretty popular one because there's so many different kinds and they're pretty easy. This is a Philodendron brasil. The trailing philodendrons have a really similar growth pattern to the pothos of, like, they vine out and you can have them hanging down, or you can train them up a pole or a stick. You're a little more likely to start getting smaller leaves if you leave a trailing philodendron going down, whereas with a pothos, the leaves are going to stay big no matter what. But that doesn't bother me, because, I mean, come on. This plant is still beautiful, as you can see. They are similar to pothos in that they're pretty cheap, pretty easy to find, pretty tolerant of whatever light, pretty tolerant of whatever watering. Whoopsie, I hit the tripod there. Here is another trailing philodendron that has that similar growth pattern to a pothos, and this is called a Philodendron micans. And I don't know if you can tell, but the leaves are actually fuzzy. So those I would refer to as trailing philodendrons, but there is also another kind of philodendron that I want to showcase for you, and they're called upright philodendrons, and they have a completely different growth pattern that is, as you would guess, upright. So this is one that is really common in stores. Like every time I go in Lowe's or Home Depot, there's a million of them to pick from. So great plant if you just want something that's easy to find, and look how beautiful it is. And this is called a Philodendron birkin. As I've been saying about everything so far, pretty tolerant as far as the lighting and watering, although the more light you give it, the more likely you are to get these almost pure white leaves. So that's really cool. Here's another upright philodendron, my little baby philodendron Prince of Orange. I like this guy. The newer leaves come out an orangey reddish color, hence the name Prince of Orange, and then they fade off into the green. And just for fun, I want to show you an upright philodendron that is definitely not common. In fact, during the you-know-what that I'm not going to say because the YouTube algorithm might punish me for it, during that time, a lot of people got into plants because they didn't have anywhere to go or anything else to do. So they had to find the joy in their own home. During that time, the pink princess philodendron absolutely catapulted in popularity, and the prices were insane. So a fun little FYI here, capitalism plus plants equals crazy prices sometimes. Because, you know, supply and demand. People were demanding this plant for whatever reason, and at one point it was like $200, but now you could go in a big city nursery and probably find one bigger than this for like $75, which, I mean, if you're a beginner, that probably still sounds insane, but it's less than half the price of what it was. So at least there's an improvement. If you want something that's easy to care for, but a little more unique, a little harder to find, here is a pink princess philodendron. I absolutely love this plant. I love all my philodendrons, to be honest. So here's where it might get a little bit controversial, because some people, well, let me say, a lot of people would probably agree with me on the first two, but they would pick something different for this second two. So let me know what you think. But me personally, I would put peace lily as the third option of what would be the best for anyone and everyone. Now, admittedly, I myself did not have a peace lily in my beginner plant days, but I think if I did, I would have done well with it. They're beautiful. They have this upright growth pattern, kind of like the upright philodendron. And this is a silver peace lily, by the way. And the scientific name of a peace lily is Spathiphyllum. So again, another genus. Philodendron, Syndapsis, Epipremnum, Spathiphyllum. I find this plant is very beautiful and very rewarding. And kind of like with the Syndapsis, the silver satin pothos that I touched on, it is vocal. It lets you know when it needs water. The leaves will start to droop. These are already starting to droop a bit. And then when you see them doing that, you know, okay, it needs a little drink of water. And I personally find that with my peace lilies, they'll start to droop a little bit. And the most ideal thing would be to water them right away. But even if you push it for a day or two, let's say you see it getting droopy, but you're busy, whatever, you forget. And then 2 days later, it's like really droopy, like to the point where you're like, oh crap, is this thing gonna come back? But then when you water it, it usually will come back, even if you push it to that extent. Although I personally would not recommend doing that all the time, because it might start losing leaves here and there if you did that all the time. But yeah, point being, it's pretty forgiving, pretty easy. It does want a lot of water, so you know, especially if you're more of an overwaterer, this is really great for you as a beginner. I don't want to pick it up after knocking over the Cebu blue. I don't know, today is not my day for picking up plants, but hopefully you can see. This is a variegated peace lily. I'm like trying to look at you so that my voice won't not be coming in strong, but then I need to look at the plant to pull the leaves down. You see, this is a variegated peace lily, and just like the other one, pretty easy, and it does want a lot of water, but I will say it's pretty tolerant of the lighting you give it. They'll do okay in low light, at least in my experience. Not no light. Low light and no light are not the same thing, people, but they will do alright in low light. So with my first two, Pothos and Philodendron, they're really good for everyone, whether you're more of an overwaterer, whether you're more of an underwaterer, whether you want to put them in a really bright window, whether you want to kind of pull them back from a window, they'll probably be fine. And then my third option, peace lily, was really kind of more for the people who tend to overwater. For the people who tend to overwater. And now my number 4 is going to be for the people who will tend to underwater. My number 4 choice of best plant for anyone and everyone who is a beginner is ZZ plant. The scientific name I can never remember, but it's 2 words that start with Z. So whatever the genus is, it starts with the letter Z. Here is my green ZZ plant. It's a very simple, cute, jungle vibe kind of plant, and it's extremely tolerant of not being watered. If you don't water it for like a month, it'll probably be fine. And it's really tolerant of whatever kind of lighting, whether I stick one of mine in a window or whether I pull them way back. They're fine with it either way. And here is my Raven ZZ, which is one of the coolest looking plants ever, in my opinion. And you know, this is like the Philodendron birkin, one of those plants where almost every time you walk into a big box store, there's a million of them to choose from. So, gotta love a common, easy, rewarding, cool looking plant. Thank you for watching to the end of the video. For beginners, I hope this actually was helpful for you in some way. And for those of us who are really into plant culture already, it reminds me of the song I Love to Tell the Story. One of the lines of that song goes, I love to tell the story, for those who know it best seem hungering and thirsting to hear it like the rest. So, even though I know all this stuff about plants, I will happily watch one of my favorite plant tubers make a video for beginners because I can never hear about plants too much. Hope you're having a good day. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave in the comments any advice that you would give to a beginner, or what are the 4 that you would have picked to be in this video and why. And one more thing, wherever you are and whatever your circumstances, bloom where you are planted, honey. See you in the next one. Bye.